We're entering into week 4, and that means there's another 4 more weeks left. That means your class is 8 weeks long. So do the math, and we are nearing completion of the course already. I can't believe it. I hope your summer is going really well, and you're learning some new things about the story and structure of Scripture or the Bible, how things are put together in terms of themes and structure. One of the things I really wanted to address is your final project. There's a couple things. You chose an audience that you wanted to work with. Your project should reflect that. So if you were writing, say, to young people, kids, or youth ministry program, maybe unsaved, at this point you may want to think about restructuring your project, as that should relate to who you're writing about. So for example, if you're writing to an unsaved person who has very little or understanding of Scripture, has never read it, how will you intend to create your project around that? Now, if that seems to be too big, or you're like, you know what, that's just going to take a lot of time, I would say at this point you need to restructure your audience. So maybe you need to think about your project in light of a Bible study that you're leading at your church, or a women's group, or student ministry group. Well, whatever that context is, you're going to want to make sure your categories or your biblical themes are clear. And what do I mean by that? I mean that if you're choosing God's redemption story from bookend to bookend, just know that that's going to be a huge theme. You're going to be able to hit that topic in every section of the Old Testament and even to the New. And I would suggest that's a huge, big chunk to probably write on. But if you were to narrow the theme of redemption mainly to only the Pauline epistles, you could then go back into the Old, because Paul is using Old Testament images as a backdrop of his understanding of God's redemption. Or maybe you want to look at the garden, the first sin, the garden scene in Genesis 3, and see how that theme is picked up in other sections of Scripture. Does Paul pick that up in Romans? I just did the paper for you, but I'm giving you a head start. So maybe that's an option. Maybe you want to look at the suffering servant theme as elements of our own personal suffering, and also the personal suffering of Christ in the New Testament. Again, you need to really think about this project very practically toward the people that you're going to be touching. Make it practical toward the culture and the group that you're in. And if you feel like you need to adjust the audience right now, I would do so in order to help you get moving on the finality of the project. Okay? If you have personal questions you would like to talk with me on, give me a call or email me. Glad to talk with you offline, and I hope to be an encourager to you.